Today on Drawbli.
I am determined to not draw muddy skin.
Hey, I'm Ben.
And I'm Abby.
And we're drawing together because art is better with friends.
So click that subscribe button if you're new around here.
And don't forget to check out our guidebook on daily drawing linked below.
Okay, so Ben, I'm determined.
To not draw muddy skin, yeah, I heard you.
Yes, I have had many instances, and you can see them by going back through our old videos.
I have seen them myself. I have done many of them myself.
I remember one specific Cleopatra who was particularly shameful in that regard.
I do remember that one.
It was so muddy. So here I am, coming off a week of ruminating on some tips you taught me recently that I've been trying a lot harder to incorporate, of adding form and dimension, not necessarily yet with brush strokes, but by selecting a portion of the face, filling in that color strongly with like red or blue, depending on the needs of that moment, and then Gaussian blur, drop the opacity, very smooth shift. And so I very intentionally...
So the selection tool, no brush.
Very little brush. Yes, some brush, but mostly like, that's not the focus of this day's work on a drawing. I didn't want to work on brushwork, so I didn't.
So your whole goal was to paint skin and not let it be muddy.
So I challenged myself by picking a photo reference that had very little contrast.
Ooh,
It was like
wow, that is a big challenge.
It was directly lit with tons of studio lighting, and I don't...
That makes it very tough to tell what's going on.
Yeah, so I had to go with the most subtle shifts in hue, and I really enjoyed the process, though.
Would you say that was the hardest part of this challenge?
I don't know what the hardest part was. I think...
I mean, that sounds like it.
The hair ended up almost challenging me because I almost fell right into the same pitfalls with the hair that I always do with the skin.
Which is
was
what?
Just putting in brush strokes where I think it's dark and then like ending up with something muddy. So I kept having to go back and like fade out or blur out areas that I thought I was getting way too muddy on. I think once I get that down and get everything really, really smooth, then I'll feel a lot more competent in going back in and adding interesting brushwork that doesn't compete as much, and maybe will convey things in a way that I want it to convey. The sketch was really fun to do on this too. It was hard to get it right though, because it's a very, nice face and it's dead on, so it's like gotta be symmetrical-ish.
I actually have the easiest time drawing faces straight on.
I know, I've noticed that. Your faces straight on always look excellent. I should...
Because it's how I sculpt faces.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the easiest angle to work on them from for me. It's the one I've done the most.
Oh, that makes sense. So yeah, I liked drawing her collarbones as two very straight lines. I thought that was a really interesting contrast to the rest of her, and at the slight angle they're at too. That was fun. So here we go. So one block of color.
I'm excited.
And then the hair. Gotta select out the hair on 2 layers because, you can't have all your hair on 1 layer. Nope, can't have it. And then, oops, what are all these extra lines that I'm seeing now?
Now, I have a question.
Yes.
Recently,
yes,
we went through a process where I showed you how to paint on top of your lines. Is that something that you did here?
Yes, towards the end, I believe I did. I did do that, but not yet. Okay, so we're getting started.
So you're using the selection tool.
Yep, I'm going in anywhere I see like the most slight hue shifts, or imagine they would be, which, considering this figure is lit dead on, me imagining that the top lip would be darker is a little erroneous, but I just tried to go with anywhere I saw the most subtlest shift.
And you're just like fading these out to barely a whisper.
Yes, I'm blurring them, I'm fading them, and I'm just curious to see what will come of it,
It already looks really cool.
I already like it, yeah. So I'm going in and adding and it's a brightly lit person, so there's lots of big lights to add. But I actually...
Is this like a makeup advertisement or something?
I have no idea. It was just, a picture of a woman that was on the internet. I think I searched face or something like that.
Face. What should I paint today? Face.
Yeah. So.
Sometimes that's all it takes, though. I see that you drew her with her mouth slightly open.
Yeah, the reference is slightly
I mentioned in our last video that I was struggling with a sketch that I was working on. And it turned out really bad, which you thought was a good time for you to mention that you had one that was going very well.
Yes.
Which I thought was rude.
I thought it was good timing.
But anyway, one of the reasons why I was struggling with that is because her mouth was open.
Oh.
And drawing an open mouth is so challenging for me.
I struggled with this too. I did. Actually, her mouth was probably one of the parts that I felt one of the least satisfied with by the end. It was, and I let that be because, right, I'm here to work on skin and experiment with skin and make her skin look dimensional and fun.
What did you learn from working on this skin?
That I can make skin that's not muddy and that still
Of
has
course
dimensionality.
You can. You've done it many times.
Well, not as well as I believe I've done it here, but that this was just the beginning, you know, like I looked at it and I said, you know, it even still has problems, but I'm really excited to have gotten started on this journey of improving, because I can see that now by just this one exercise, I feel like I've improved, and I'm so excited to get to carry this on to whatever I draw next.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the most important things that we do here is that we're not always worried about creating, you know, the most amazing end product. Mm-hmm. It's more about just, you know, what did we learn this week?
Yeah.
And what are we going to take forward to the next one?
I mean, we're documenting the process of learning to draw.
Yeah.
Not the process of already being good.
No.
The eyes were interesting. I took it into my head that I would do them a little bit more detailed. And then I was like, oh no, this isn't looking good at all. So that took some experimentation. But, you know, there's nothing as quintessentially fun to work on as your standard eyeball. So it wasn't a bad time.
This is true. Eyes are very fun to paint.
Yeah, they really are. And to draw them differently every time is fine. Just figuring out what you're doing.
Yeah, that was actually, so when I started sculpting, that was like my favorite thing to do is every single time I made something, I did it in a different way to kind of like find new ideas, new techniques. A lot of it was me finding what didn't work, but through that process, I was able to find many things that did work. And that is like when/where I learned the most for how I sculpt today.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think a lot of art sometimes feels like figuring out what doesn't work as much as what does. And it doesn't mean that the next thing you do will work, but it means you do know that one thing doesn't work, so that's good. Here, like I said, I was just really losing it on the hair.
Losing it?
Yeah, so I'm like, well, let's just blur all that back out. And then I liked that effect. I was like, oh, now I've got more hair dimensionality. That's cool. That's really fun. I was having a good time with this one, actually.
Good.
Yeah, as simple as a reference as it is, it was really fun to work on.
Yeah, I highly recommend for trying to practice anything that you don't grab like something super complex. Just try to keep it simple and focus on that one thing.
Yeah, and that paid off, I felt like, pretty well here in allowing me to just practice and not worry about like, oh no, gotta render folds of clothing or this complex hairstyle.
Yeah, honestly, it might have been better for you to just create a bald person.
I still liked working on the hair. But yeah, you're right. Like if I was purely just after like looking at skin, then that might have been better.
Ooh, what did you just do there? I saw you like darken everything.
Yeah, I just dropped the brightness slightly because I really want, like I said, this is a very like brightly lit character, but I was gonna go in now and add like a little bit of rim lighting, a little more contrast, so I wanted things to pop a little bit more. So I thought it would be interesting to just darken the whole skin layer now and then to go back in and add highlights on top of that.
I like it.
Yeah, I like the effect of it. One thing I wish I'd done that I don't think I did was add maybe a little bit of a noise layer. I think that might have helped somewhat.
Just to break things up.
Yeah, just to break things up.
Yeah, if a lot of digital painting, especially with the technique that you've implemented here, it can feel very airbrushy without that noise. Like it feels too smooth. So noise helps just give it a little more, not realism, but a little more grit.
That makes sense.
Grit's important. You gotta have grit sometimes.
You do. Chickens have to eat gravel, so we should have to have grit.
So we should have to eat gravel as well.
That's how that goes. Deepening the area beneath her eyes was pretty tricky. The model is wearing some makeup that makes like under her eyes a little darker, a little redder. So that was kind of hard to get that in and not have that be muddy because it was a lot of individual, not brush strokes, but shapes that I kept having to blend together. So there were still some hiccups here along the way that I was like, I haven't mastered this yet, but I'll get there.
You've done a really great job practicing the idea and the technique for it being like your first time implementing a lot of this stuff in one go.
Yeah, I'm very happy with it. I'm so excited.
Fantastic job.
Thank you very much.
And if you would like some grit, click that like and subscribe button.
And check out our guidebook, How to Easily Draw Every Day, at the link below in the description.
And this is the part where we say
goodbye.
Goomba.
Yeah, you eat some sand if you eat oysters sometimes, so that's probably why I don't eat oysters. I don't like oysters.
Well, I eat sand every day.
You should.
When you're not looking.
Oh, that's like, do you wait till I turn around and like gobble it up real quick and I turn around and you're like, there's like sand falling out of your mouth? I hope so.